Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I am Kristen, and welcome to this time where we're going to be getting into a little bit deeper of some concepts and the idea of these crucial conversations. I'm Kristen, and this is hosted by NewMinds.tv. This is technically episode 33. Wow, that's a lot. And right now, you're probably noticing, if you've been here with us for the other episodes, we're under a little bit of a reconstruction here on this time. Every morning at 10 a.m. I've been here, and we've been calling it something called Parent Power Hour. And as of next week, we're going to be shifting to fewer days a week, and then on top of that, renaming it, rebranding it so that everyone knows that it's not just for parents, that it's also for all of those of us who are ready to better ourselves so that we can better serve those that we love, those that we parent, and those that we lead. And I see we've already got some great people in here. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Jessica, Tina. Oh, Jessica said happy birthday. Thank you. Yep, it's my birthday. I'm finally 21, you guys. I know, finally. So let's get to it. Crucial Conversations is what we're talking about this week, this little mini series. And in case you're not familiar, Vital Smarts puts out a whole collection of books. This is one of them. Crucial Accountability is another. Influencer is another. And they actually did just pick up something called I don't have it next to me. Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. So I don't want you to think that this is just for people in businesses and organizations. These are tools and strategies that can, as you probably saw in the subject line, they have the power to have an impact on every area of your life, whether that's your business, your family, the relationships that you have. And so what we're unpacking today is exactly how to do that. And let's take a quick little review of what has been happening this week. Make sure that we've got, we're Taco Bowden in it. Thanks, Tina. Tina said happy birthday too. Good morning. So we're doing a little mild take on some spicy conversations. You'll probably notice that throughout the day today. I'm actually not going to be on video very much. We're having a lot of lag on our videos, and so I'll probably have up my display screen a lot and then come in and out of showing you the screen as well as my face, but not my face too much because it's a really big delay on the video feed. However, voice feed is just fine. So I just get to listen to my voice instead, and I've got these baby hairs in the way, so it's for the benefit of all of us. So this week we've been doing a lot of conversation unpacking and actually spending a lot of time identifying what is the problem. You're probably here and you saw that title, and maybe you're having all kinds of stress and tension, and whether it's at work or with your families, and this is why you're here, because you find that you're stuck. I know, and I feel stuck, and I know that some of you feel stuck. And probably a crucial conversation is something you're not having because you fear saying the wrong thing and saying it the wrong way. And so that's what this time is about, is to getting to some of those tools that we can start to have that conversation. This week we have identified the elements of the crucial conversations. We spent most of our time doing that on Monday and Tuesday. That's episode 31 and 32. And yesterday we started to unpack these tools, and today we're going to get a little bit further. My hope here for you is that you feel confident, that you feel less reluctant to address some of these issues and concerns, and that you start to feel that you can build and restore or strengthen the trust between individuals. Okay? So I'm going to fly through some of these next few slides because it's all about what we talked about on Monday and Tuesday. And for those of you who were here, don't really want to spend a lot of your time. We want to get down to some nitty gritty because you can always go back and watch those, you guys, if you're interested. So I bet you're not having these conversations. You're not having conversations with people that are, those ticking time bombs, that are those, doesn't matter what you say, it's a prickly pear person. It doesn't matter what you say, you never can say the right things anyways. And so you don't have a conversation with that person because you're like, well, what's the point? I mean, I don't say anything right anyway, so why would I start now? Or maybe a prickly pear is your teenager because they're just rude right now because they're all their emotions, and you're like, it's just, you know what, we're going to back off. We're not even going to talk about this anymore. Or maybe it's someone on your team or a relative who has been known for backbiting and bullying and harassment, withholding information, and resisting any sort of feedback and input. These are the kinds of situations where you're like, well, what's the point? Why would I even go there with that person? Because they're just going to resist anyways. And I know there's all these conversations that you're not having. You're not having a conversation with someone on your team about their laziness and their incompetence. And that's not helping the team. You know that. You're failing to talk to your peers or to maybe the people that you oversee if you do lead a team about their poor work habits and their lack of engagement. And oh my goodness, is that so easy right now, right? This work from home situation, if you have the blessing of still being able to work from home, for those people who are working from home, this is the perfect situation for them to avoid all the things they've always wanted to avoid doing. Let me make sure we're still good. Yeah. Because you can just be like, oh, my tech's down. I can't get on this virtual meeting because my baby's having a meltdown. Those things could be true. But you also know the work history of someone on your team that you're like, you always do this in person. Nothing's changing. And you're not talking about it. Because you feel awkward, because you feel like, well, I can't really do that because it's quarantine, because I'm just not really, I'm having a lot of hair issues today, so I'm just going to skip on to the next one. Maybe there's a power play situation going on, you guys. If you're not openly discussing the damage that's already been done, because maybe as a leader you look back and you see that you've done some damage. Or maybe you're on a team or you work with some people and you see, well, I mean, the person I'm working with, that's my team lead, is just going to lose their cool anyway. And they're going to resort to extreme sense of control and the reliance of their position to push their agenda. And so, why would I can't discuss this with my boss. I can't discuss this with my mother-in-law because, she's the one that calls all the shots in the family anyways. I'm not going to go there. And so there's these conversations that you're not having that is just creating so much chaos, and it's really digging deep into um, potential future issues, potential future chaos, you guys, because you know that change is continuing to happen here. You know that this is the state of the world that we live in right now. You know that in your area, I'm here in Dallas, and we're in I think week 7. I think I've been calling it week 6 for like the past 5 days. But we're in week 7 of lockdown. Conversations are starting to emerge about the lift. And so there's lack of clarity again. What does this look like? What are we doing here? Who can go where and who can't go where? When can my kids go here and when can't my kids go there? And so there's a really strong sense of a lack of clarity, right? And essentially what that is, you guys, is that's management chaos. That's leadership chaos, right? There's no clarity. There's no real clarification of when all the things that you feel uncertain around. You're not sure of your role. You're not sure of your responsibilities. You're not sure of the timeline of this. And that makes it feel very unsafe. And voicing your concerns also makes it feel very unsafe. And yes, this can be, a governmental top-down kind of point of view if you choose to see it that way, but put it also in the frame of your community. Put it in the frame of your school district's leadership. They're the ones that are making all the calls on when your kids get to go back to school, and they don't have clarity. And so since they don't have clarity, you don't have clarity. And that trickles down, and when that happens, that's when all this chaos kicks in, because that seeps into your family, right? When you're trying to decide how you're going to spend the next few months of the summer, and you're like, well, do we go ahead and pay for summer camp or not? Because what's going to happen with that? Do we go ahead and register for that? Have we already registered? What's going to happen for that? Do we think about the fall? Do we get ready for the kindergarten roundup, I think it's called? You're not even sure about saying those things out loud right now, are you? Because there's this like iffiness. If I say it and it's not going to happen, then that mentally puts me in a place. And if I voice my concern to my spouse about that, or to someone on my team about that, then that doesn't feel good. We're all going to spin into this world of I don't know what's going on. And ideally, what could happen and what can happen with some tools that we're getting into today is that we need to make it safe again. We need to make it safe to have these kinds of conversations that we're not having, that we must have. You got to know what your next step is as far as what you're doing with your kids for the summer. You got to know what it's going to look like when you start to transition back to 25% capacity in your office. You've got to have those kinds of conversations, and it takes some courage here because it's more than just the logistics. I am 100% logistics person. When I was pulling up some notes for today and looking for some other resources, it kept popping up like this project management resource, from this project management site. And I was like, I had no idea. I've been into this Crucial Conversations thing the book came out in 2012. I think my friend Jessica passed it off to me in 2013, and I'm pretty sure it's been in my hand since then. And so I said all that, lost my train of thought for a second. I said all that because, oh shoot, you guys, I hate it when that happens. It'll come back to me. I know it was a good one. Anyway, we'll move on. So these are the chaos. This is the lack of safety that we've gotten into, and we have to reestablish, right? Project management, because I knew it would come back. When I was looking for these resources, that's the place where I was finding that, and that's really unique to me right now because that is my position with our company, New Minds Enrichment. I am labeled project management, and additionally, this self-development, personal development, encouraging parents and families and teachers and those that we love and lead. And so here I am, I'm like, oh, this all makes so much sense because we can do our jobs better. We can be more productive in our teams, and we can have all the logistics worked out, whether it's for our family schedule or for our team plans or for the goals we're trying to reach personally. We can have more clarity and go towards those things when we're having these kinds of conversations. When we're not having them, that's where we stay stuck. So let's get into it today. Let's talk about what the first steps of having these conversations are, because we know what we're not going to do, you guys. We're not going to go to silence or violence. We're not. Yesterday we watched a really terrible connection-based two videos of an example and a non-example. And I'll post links to those videos in the descriptions because that'll help you you can watch those. But what to say, what not to say, and what to say. Because in silence and violence, we shut down, we get sarcastic. We're like, well, you're the team lead. You know everything anyway, so I'm just going to sit back and wait for you to go ahead and just tell me what to do because there's no point. Right? We do this silence and violence thing. Or even in that response I was just modeling for you, that's a passive aggressiveness, right? Right? There's some violence in there. There's some verbal violence. There's some verbal attacking. Well, why don't you just go ahead and make all the decisions? Because you're the one that knows all the answers to all the things. Not helpful. You've just crumbled every sense of safety and trust in your conversation, whether it's with your spouse or your kid's teacher or your teammate. Okay? So we're not doing that. We do that because that's our human nature, but we can practice and improve our human nature. That's the beauty of human behavior and development, is that we have the power. There's not much we have control over, but we have control over our attitude and we have control over our effort. So we can control the way that we think about these kinds of conversations and the effort that we put into becoming the person that can still maintain safety and help our families focus, improve our relationships. So let's get to it. The first thing that we're going to do is when we start to practice this in our responses is practice what we're saying. You don't even know what to say. Someone's just come into you and be like, hey, I know that project was due 2 weeks ago, but yeah, it's not going to happen. And so you're already like, what? what? No. I'm like, immediately you're like, 2 weeks? I've been on you for the past 2 weeks, and now you've been telling me it's gonna happen, and now you're here and you're telling me it's just not gonna happen. Like, that's not okay. You can't do that to our team. Our team is suffering. Okay, if you're a parent, you're like, your kid comes in, high schooler comes into the kitchen. Yeah, mom, I know you said I was gonna, I should take out the trash. Nah, I just feel like I don't want to do that today. Oh, yes, you will. Oh, yes, you will take out the trash because I'm your mother and I told you to take out the trash, and you're gonna, woo, you just locked in. You locked into that control. As the team lead, that's your also some of your responses, right? You're like, that's not you can't just step in here and say that you're not going to finish that project when you've been promising that you're going to do it for the last 2 weeks. So what do you do first? What do you say? State your path. STATE. First, you share your facts. We're going to break down each of these. Don't worry, you guys. First, you state your facts. That means that you re-verbalize, basically. That's rephrase. That's a much more clear word to say. You rephrase the facts. You rephrase what's happening here. You begin with the facts, because if you start with, that's making me feel this way, that's going to possibly kill the safety. That's going to create a greater divide between what your person has come to you and said and what you know should be happening. So you begin with the facts. You start with the least controversial thing and the most persuasive elements from your path to action. Do you remember our path to action that we took yesterday? The path to action is, what do you see and hear? You tell a story, and you feel and you act. See and hear, tell a story, feel and act. So that's your first step, is to get clear and sharing that, because you share the least controversial and the most persuasive element from your path to action, from your see and hear, your tell a story, your feel and act. Okay, so here's what that looks like. That looks like you saying, okay, well, I have to identify what's my role first. That's what I see and I hear. So you're coming to me. It's been 2 weeks since you said, since we started the project, and we've been checking in. And so my role is, as the team lead, is to be sure that everyone is showing up and pulling their weight and doing their part to contribute to the success of this project. That's my role. Okay, so you're stating what you see and you hear, because you're defining your role, and then you're saying, and what I see is that over the past 2 weeks we've had check-ins and you've said you're going to get it done. So what I hear you saying today is that you're point blank, it's not going to happen. So you've already started to tell your story. You've already started to define what you see and you hear, what's your role. And that feel and act is the part that kind of starts to seep into the rest of this, of what you actually say. So first you're sharing your facts. Then you're telling your story. So what you're telling me is that from here forward, if I give you a project, you're not going to be able to meet that deadline, because now this is the second time we've been on a project and you've gone through this process and you've come here to me, and this is the second time now, and so I'm starting to think that maybe you shouldn't be on this kind of project. I'm starting to think that maybe this responsibility, you're translating your story, right, you guys? I'm starting to think that maybe this sort of team isn't the right team for you. Okay? You're making the conclusions that you're making in your head, you're verbalizing them in a very chilled out way, in a very way that's like, it's approachable. It's creating that safety. It's not with the attitude, right? It's not with the hands up in the air and the body moving. It's, if you have to, some tips here. Fingertip pressure is a calming thing, that it calms your brain. So that's why you see a lot of people when they're in a, I'm like up here with my hands. That's why you see, oh no, okay. That's why you see a lot of people when they are in stress or when they're in a conversation and oh, you think, right? And that's with the whole body. But let's go ahead and we can use this or any sort of touching of fingertips. That can also be a calming thing for you to give yourself a little bit of a calming thing, because you know that this person that works on your team you know that your teenager hasn't taken out the trash, and that's their one job. That's their, notice people do this, that's their one job, right? Tap your fingertips if you have to when you are having this kind of conversation so that you can come at it with sharing your facts and telling your story. Okay, so you just came to me, and this has been a project we've been on for 2 weeks. And what's happening is that now you're telling me that it's not going to be something that you're going to finish at all. Okay, so what that tells me, I mean, the story I'm telling myself, Brene Brown, fits in right here with this kind of structure of a conversation. So the story I'm telling myself is that I probably shouldn't be putting you on any projects. I probably shouldn't be giving you any responsibilities around the house if you can't even take out the trash, because that's kind of one of the most basic ones. That's what I'm kind of gathering here. That's the story I'm telling myself, okay? That's S, share your facts. T, tell your story. A, ask for others' paths. Okay, because I bet some of you were just like, yeah, duh. If I say that to my teenager, of course they're going to be like, super, thanks, Mom. Bye. I'm going to go bounce a basketball in the front yard because that's the only thing I can do right now. So instead, A, ask for others' paths. This is you demonstrating humility with generosity, with as much authenticity as you can. What that does is it keeps expanding the pool of meaning. It creates a third point. It allows you to brainstorm an idea together. What this does is in this step of it, you are encouraging others to share both their facts and their stories. So what's happening here when you are asking for others' paths? Let's continue with our scenario. So, is that what's going on? Because you came into my office and you said this to me, okay? Or you showed up on our virtual team meeting and you said this to me. So, I'd like to find out, like, if it's been 2 weeks and now you're coming to me and you're saying you're not going to get it done. I'm wondering if there's something else going on here, or is that what's going on, that you're not reliable on this task that was given to you? Or is there something else going on? Okay, you're asking for them to contribute their path. You're asking them to tell you what's been going on. So you're not taking out the trash. That kind of makes me think that that's a responsibility that you're not ready for. Interesting. You're 17 and you have a car and you get gas, but you can't take out the trash. So, I'm thinking that maybe it's a responsibility thing here that has to do with a lot of other stuff that's not just the trash. So, well, but that doesn't make any sense though, does it? And this is real. These are conversations I've had with colleagues or with students, or in other conversational relationship discussions where you're like, but wait, that doesn't make any sense though, because if you're responsible enough to go ahead and pay for your own gas, get your own gas, drive your own car and be safe, then that doesn't match with not taking out the trash. So I think you are responsible, but you can't take out the trash. So what's the disconnect here? What's going on? That is you inviting your teenager to be like, air whatever it is. Oh, it's just every day. I don't want to do it every day. It's just, okay. Oh, that's it? Just every day? We can fix that. Can you think of another solution? Well, could I only do it on like Tuesdays? Sure. I'll just be sure that, one of us on the family takes it out on Thursdays. That's a really great teenager. But there's also the ones that are like, yeah, because I don't want to do it, because I don't like it, because it stinks and it's gross. Okay, all right, so what are we going to do? Because the trash has to be taken out. Why don't you take it out? All right, so if I take it out, let's see. Usually I take it, it needs to be taken out on Tuesdays because the trash, okay. So if I take it out on Tuesdays, let's see, what do I have going on Tuesday? I have to make sure that your brother does his homework. I have to make sure, do that. Share your level of responsibility that you're contributing to the family and how asking your teenager to do one thing of taking out the trash, while it seems small in his world, it's huge in your world because it's one of 19,372 things that you have to do, right? And that's not loading guilt on them. That's painting the picture and that's telling your story. So I have all that going on. Can you see why your responsibility and your contribution to this family of taking out the trash means actually a lot to me? Can you see that? So you're sharing your story. That means you're coming back to that second T, that talk part. When you start to ask for their paths and you're talking about it, you're starting to also talk tentatively, right? That means that you're sharing your story. Don't disguise it as fact. And don't eliminate the options of, don't uh go to the extreme of saying that it's the right way. And if you're starting to fake it, then you're not actually in dialogue. You're just preaching at someone. You're just informing them. And be careful. I know some of you are like, talk tentatively. I'm not going to be all timid with my teenager. I'm not going to be timid with that person on my team who has yet to complete a single project and they got a bonus last week because they kissed up to the bosses, you know, and were able to do. There's no way I'm going to go ahead and let that person walk all over me. No, 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 no. This is not being a lay down, someone who can be walked all over. This is encouraging. Tentative does not mean timid. It means talking without extreme certainty, right? It means saying, um, is that what's going on? Because I think this and I see this. Those are some conclusions I've made in my head. So what's missing? And people will let you know whether that person is feeling safe or not, whether it's a teenager or not, whether it's someone that is practiced in crucial conversations or they recognize that in or you've been working on it as a team anyways. You've brought me in to do a training for you all on how to do this stuff, and 3 months later 3 months later that person's like, oh, I know what you're doing. You're trying to do that thing that Kristen trained us to do. There's no way. I don't care. I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to break. They're going to prickly pear you all the way to the end of that conversation. You will find that people are being human, just like you are being human, just like my hair won't stay off to one side. It's just doing its own thing. I can't control it. You can't control the other people. What you can control is your response to them. And so when you are also collecting information and talking tentatively about this, that invites this, it reestablishes the pool of meaning between the two of you. Instead of you preaching and you saying, take out the trash, this is important, this is your job, you're a teenager, this is what you're supposed to do, you didn't do that, and now I should take away your keys to your car. There's something else deeper going on there. Same thing with the teammate that's not turning in their work on time. Same thing, not just with the teammate, but also the people that report to you if you're the team lead. Even as a teammate, you guys, you may not feel that you are the leader of the team, and so you shouldn't be the one that has a conversation with someone on your team that isn't pulling their weight. But doesn't them not pulling their weight also affect your ability to pull your weight? Why not address that? Say, hey, we were given this project and we're halfway through it now in the second week, and I'm kind of starting to see that we're not going to meet that deadline. There's these 3 parts of it that are missing from you. I'm starting to feel like it's all up to me, and I know it's not, because I know that we said in that training with Kristen 3 weeks ago that we would all be pulling our weight. I'm making up this whole world, like you guys. Okay. So But I think you understand how this follows through here, right? Even for holding, it can be parent to child, it can be child to parent, you guys. If you are someone who feels that when you do come out from the lift and you go to your first family cookout and father-in-law is the same and attacking you, and you're like, oh my God, we just had an 8-week break from each other and this is still here. Hey, you know what, Bob? This is the kind of conversation that happens a lot between us. Have you noticed that? Like, you asked me if I like believe in animals or something, and if I'm in like an animal worshiper because I wear animal prints, and that just tends to make me feel really self-conscious about what I wear, and that's not who I am. So I don't know, like, is there something, is there something else? Like, are you trying to connect with me? Because I'd really like for you to compliment my hair. I don't know. So you can take it with a sense of humor if you can at times. Also, that's also what talking tentatively invites in this step of you're sharing your facts, telling your story, you're asking for others' past. Talking tentatively can also do that. And finally, that encouraging testing. Make it safe for others to express their differing or opposing views. Make it safe for others to say, no, you know what? That's not what's going on. It's not. And you don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through for the past 8 weeks. You don't know that every time I see a print t-shirt, it makes me think of the days when I used to be able to go to the African safari and hunt those animals. And now I can't do that anymore. And that makes me upset because I don't have a freedom that I thought that I had. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, I'm just wearing a cute shirt because animal prints are cute right now. And I'm totally making up all kinds of strange scenarios, you guys. But you can see how you never know what's living underneath the conversations that you're not having. We don't know what's behind the stories behind people's reactions to things, people snapping at us, people shutting us out, people not showing up for their teams and pulling their weight, teenagers avoiding conversations. We don't know what's going on there because we're not talking about it. And when we talk about it, then look, I'm already like calming myself as well, right? Finger point pressure. Get yourself to a place. Get yourself to a place so that you can have these conversations and do things like encourage testing. So a common question that happens when we get, excuse me, especially to these last two steps in talking tentatively and encouraging testing, those are really new to a lot of people. So what I want to give you today are some sentence starters. That's what we call it in education. For me, I actually, when I was first integrating the concepts of crucial conversations into my world and my vocabulary, it came out of a time that it was crucial is the number one word for it. I was navigating a very unhealthy boss relationship. I don't even feel good calling it a relationship. I was working for a boss that was extremely manipulative, verbally abusive. I mean, no safety, no trust. He constantly did things that reinforced the fact that you could not trust him. And I don't mean like, embezzling money. I mean like saying things to him in private and in confidence, and then hearing him say them in a large meeting to the entire staff. Knowing that I was the only one that had said those things to him. And I was not in a good place, and I'm trying to navigate like how do I handle this? Like, and it's actually been like it's been about a 6-year journey, you guys, just to move past it. I worked with him for 6 years, and all of that started about the second year that he was the principal of my school. I'm just going to put it out there, just am. And in that second year of him being principal of my school, wow, I mean, from then until the time I left, so I was there for 8 years, and so for those 6 years, those last 6 years that I was there, for sure the last 5, I was under this daily. And I would get to the point where I had to alter my behavior, right? I had to make sure I didn't go down the hallway past his office. I made sure I didn't leave my classroom when I knew that he was going to be in the hallways. The worst, oh my gosh, the worst times were when I was in my classroom. I didn't have students in there and he would come in. And that just, I mean, like, I'm starting to sweat thinking about it. And it's been a lot of work. And having crucial conversations kept me cool, kept me in a place of times when I probably should have lost my cool, times when I probably should have gotten my voice out a little bit more stronger. But, you know, for the sake of saving my job, I stuck in there and I managed and elbow deeped my way through. This is the army crawl. That's what I was doing. Army crawled my way through that working situation, because I don't want to call it a relationship. Relationships are two-way, right? And so at that time, I had a note card on my desk. I think this is actually the same stack of unused note cards. I moved from Dubai back home with this stack of note cards that had been unsealed. And I had them on the side of my desk. And I would pull them out for important things, like more than just lessons, like I am with you all. Like, this is really important to me to share this information with you and to verbalize it in a really clear way. So I write down my notes. And same thing with there, knowing that something is important to me. And so what I did was I wrote down these sentence starters on a note card just like this. And I, you know how you have those desk calendars for the, you know, the month. And I kept it tucked right under the edge of that. And if I saw him coming into my classroom, I would untuck it and just have it in my hands and know that he couldn't see the back of it, you know, the back of it's blank. And if he was launching into me about something, if he was making me feel awkward about something, if he was asking me something that he shouldn't have been asking me about, if he was attacking a decision that I had made as the lead of the team at the time, if he was questioning my classroom management, which he knew nothing about, oh my God, all of those sorts of things, I had to really lock in on having these things in my hands. Okay, so I'm giving you a really extreme situation, and I wouldn't even technically call this a crucial conversation because it was so unsafe. It was so, you know, emotionally and mentally abusive, manipulative. He's now since been fired for this very thing. There was a police report and everything. So anyway, I'm not validating my story. I'm putting it into context for you that this isn't necessarily the definition of a crucial conversation, but it's an example of how when you're nervous, when the stakes are high, when you have a lot to lose, when you know you're not in the practice of it, when for the past 7 weeks in lockdown, you've let your teenager get away with that thing. You've let someone on your team not pull their weight. And I say let because that's what you're that's what you're choosing to do. When you're choosing not to have a conversation like this, you're choosing that the alternative is better than what you could have, which is trust and safety, a healthy relationship. So here are the sentence starters, and screenshot this, pause, write them down, continue, do what you can. Write these down as tools of things that will help you, because when you're in the middle of it and you're thick of it, lean on these. Teenager, hey, it's starting to look like you're not being very responsible about taking out your trash. Is that right? You don't start the conversation with that, you guys. You already know that. We already did the STA. This is the final T and E. We're breaking this down a little bit more for just a few minutes here. Hey, this is really making me think that, you know, you haven't shown up and you haven't turned in your contribution to this project for the last 2 weeks. It's leading me to conclude that you're not capable, or that there's a skill that's lacking in executing the finish of the project. Do you have another explanation? And right there, I mean, they're either going to be, yeah, I do. It's this, 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 and this, and this, and this. Okay, well, let's sit with that. Let's see what we can do with that. Okay? Or they'll be like, "Nope, I don't." Oh, okay. So you don't have another explanation to the fact that you're not turning the things in on time that you said that you were going to turn in. Nope, I don't. All right, so that makes me think that you're not technically, I mean, in pause, like speak slowly so this person knows that you're speaking with authenticity and with generosity. Okay, so you're telling me that you don't have another explanation and that you just turn things in late. Yep. Okay, interesting. Well, when we put you on this team and we gave you this part of the project, it's because we believed in your skills to do A, B, and C. And this conversation right here is letting me know that your skills to do A, B, and C are not where they need to be. So that means I need to take another look at your position on the team. I'm guessing you're thinking that that's something that you're okay with, or yeah, I'm okay with it. Okay, all right. So when I take a closer look at your role in the team, it might emerge with one or two options. Just I'm giving you a heads up. It might emerge with you being pulled off the team totally, or it might emerge with that we put you on another team that doesn't require as much skill, and of course, as you know, that's going to affect your pay, right? Like you're being factual, you're being direct, you're giving that clear conversation and still in a way that's talking to that person like they're a real human being, right? Here's some other ones. I'm starting to feel blank. Is that what's going on here? The father-in-law scenario. I'm starting to feel like you don't like my clothes. You always comment on my animal print t-shirt. I'm starting to feel like you don't like my clothes, and for me, that means that you don't like me. Is that what's going on? No, honey, no. I'm just being silly. Oh, okay. All right. Well, when you put it that way, I understand it differently. I bet there's another way that you could be silly with me, right? I mean, and that's a really quick, short way to also bring some awareness and a spotlight on how someone's words do affect you, right? And when we're talking about, excuse me, when we're talking about your father-in-law, we're talking about a relationship that is long term, God willing, and the creek don't rise, right? What we're talking about is somebody that you don't just get to fire. You don't get to reallocate your father-in-law to another family. You gotta figure that situation out. And you're also talking about someone who has years of habits. Years of habits. So take this into consideration. I'm not saying go blow up every relationship you have just to get clarity. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in those moments, and I gave that as an example, but what I am saying is in those moments, choose your path. Choose your path because that's what you have control over. And if having a stronger, more transparent, and more authentic relationship with your father in law is important to you, then start the conversation. If you're okay with it always just being the way it is, leave it the way it is. If you feel that it's something that you have tried already and you've tried these little conversations and the next pandemic comes along and here you are again stuck in the house with him this time because he's been in the hospital or whatever. I don't know. It's up to you. You can see how I'm giving you some options here, and that either way, make a choice. Don't just sweep these kinds of conversations under the rug and think that they're going to go away. Other great sentence starters. I don't think you're intending this, but this was a great one also for the father-in-law scenario. Even for the 2-week project delay, I don't really think you're intending this, but I'm beginning to feel criticized for what the clothes I wear. I don't think you're intending this, right? I'd really like to hear your opinion on that one. Is gold for teenagers, you guys. Hey, so you've done the whole STA and you've already said, taking out the trash is an issue. So it's something that you're not really interested in doing. So I'd like to hear your opinion on it. let's see if I've got this right. That's another really good starter one. And I'm guessing you're thinking also kind of includes that part of telling your story with someone and getting that in there to a space where you're encouraging that shared pool of meaning, right? Or that pool of shared meaning. This is the last part for today. Thanks for hanging in here. I hope that these are some things that you've been locking in on. And what this is this visual that I just put up is exactly what we've unpacked the past few days. And that before you even have a conversation, if you have the luxury, make a plan for it, right? We don't always, but that's why I do suggest the ones that you know you should be having that you're not having, that you make a plan for it and you have them. Because the more you do that and the more you practice at that, the better that you'll the more practice you'll have. And the next time your teenager flies off or your father-in-law flies off or somebody in your team just attacks you out of nowhere, you've got the practice of the intentional conversations that you were having. So I'll show that to you again. We've got to work on ourselves first. We know that we have to get unstuck, and we didn't go too deep into those three levels because that's a whole other week. But during that conversation, state my path, that arrow there on the left. Like that is the area where we've been living today and a little bit yesterday. And so when you do that, you're creating that safety, you're creating that pool of shared meaning. Okay, tomorrow we're going to unpack a little bit more of their meaning, because stating my path is about our meaning and what we're bringing to the conversation. So tomorrow we're going to take a little bit of a deeper look at their meaning and see if we can do a little stress test. What is your style when you are stressed? It's going to be super fun. I hope you come back for it. I hope that you found something that encourages you, something that is a little grab, a sentence starter, a thought in the back of the head, something you can put in your back pocket and pull out when you need it, so that you can better show up and serve those that you love, those that you parent, and those that you lead. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Happy Wednesday.